welcome to the David Goodman Reality and Truth Show. My name is Vanita Lambert, and I am the host of this show. And I have the honor of carrying on David Goodman's legacy, which is this platform, and to bring information and resources to our community. And I think this is one of the greatest things that we can talk about. My guest today is Miss Dominique Turner. She's a mental health advocate, and this subject is so important. We can't talk about it enough. This should be talked about at every kitchen table, at every dinner, because it's just normal conversation. So I want to welcome Dominique back on the show. She was here before COVID, was it? It was before COVID. It was Donna, Bourne, her, and myself, and she was able to give us a great story. It was a personal experience, I believe, which are the best stories, in my opinion, because people remember stories. If we were just lecturing on something, you'd probably be like, okay, right, we'll hear it, and then you forget about it. But real life stories where you're passionate about something and you care about what happens to another human being, then you're going to remember and you're going to probably try to implement it into your life. And that's one of the points that we're trying to make here today. So Dominique, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Thank you for having me back.
Don't make it your last time. There's no more COVID, so there's no reason for it to take another 2 years. Yeah. So please just take a moment and introduce yourself to our audience and tell them a little bit about you and what we're going to talk about today.
My name is Dominique Turner. I'm a resident of Bridgeport, Connecticut. Today our topic is going to be about mental health and suicide awareness. I feel that it's very important to speak out against it because I've also had my personal experiences with the two in the past, growing up and even in my adult years. So I believe it's a very important topic that we need to touch on. This year alone was a very traumatic year for the Bridgeport community because we lost a lot of people, yes, due to suicide, many different ages, and it has affected a lot of people that encounter with on a day-to-day basis.
And that also, information is not always advertised. I mean, you know, you always hear about shootings and you know, things like that. But when it comes to, you know, suicides and, you know, due to mental health issues, you don't hear a lot about that in the news. And that's why it's important for you to be here and for us to talk about this. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
It's okay. Yeah, I feel like suicide and mental health awareness alone is something that we all disguise a lot, and that you can be going from day to day looking fine and you can smile, and then behind closed doors you're dealing with those demons. So that's another reason why I feel like it's so important to speak out on it and talk about it. As we all know, September was Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. So that was last month. We're in October now, but I learned a few new things about it as I researched it, and it's also teaching me things. I don't struggle with it anymore. I'm blessed to say that, but I know that a lot of people struggle with it. And another thing that that plagued my mind was that kids suffer a lot, and you don't really think of that. But I also had my own personal experience where my son was going through things. I wouldn't really say suicidal, but more on the mental health aspect, where he wasn't feeling like himself, and sometimes, you know, you just get those feelings. So it's understandable and relatable because I've been through it myself, and just knowing that, you know, I'm not alone in it. I have family, I have friends, I have people I don't know on a day-to-day basis that I come in contact with that appreciate the fact that I could stand in the gap for them who feel unheard or can't speak for themselves. So
right. So the key word you just said was unheard, and children suffer through it. What's one of the ways? to prevent that from happening, or at least to just get the conversation going? Just sit down and talk to your kids every single day. Just ask them, what did you do in school today? How do you start that conversation with a child that you think might be struggling? What did you do with your son?
I think as a parent, we always get this idea that because we see our kids smiling, we see them interactive and social, that they're okay. And truthfully, they cover up a lot of issues within themselves that maybe they don't feel as open to discuss. So right now, what I'm working on is going to therapy with my son. Because I've been to therapy. This year I finished therapy.
Congratulations.
Last month, after 3 years in, I finished. So I did my part, but even as a mom, I have to still show up and make myself available for him and, ask him how his day is, anything's bothering him, how he feels in his growing aspect in life with school, outside of school. Sometimes we spend so much time as parents being so busy, working and juggling life and paying the bills, that sometimes we forget that our kids also need that time and attention. So thankfully I was able to, change my schedule after I graduated this year and finished therapy, where I have more open time. So we're getting back to that family time,
Which is so important. Even if you are a single mom or single dad and working and, and trying to pay the bills and struggling. And, we have financial stress all the time, especially, in the inner city. Just set aside maybe 30 minutes a day, or even start with 15 minutes a day, and just say, this is going to be for my son or for my daughter. And by helping them, getting them to talk, you're also helping yourself.
That's correct. I wanted to say that, suicide is the 11th leading cause of death. 48,183 Americans died in 2021 by suicide, which means that was 1.70 million attempts, mostly middle-aged Caucasian men.
Wow.
132 per day attempt to commit suicide. And what I did learn today when I went back and restudied my research is that 10% of youth in grades 9 through 12 have made one attempt within the last 12 months. And there's a stigma behind suicide that, people say you can have like a loving family, everything can go well in your life. Because that's something I struggle with. It's like, why, God? Why? The bills are paid. I'm living in this beautiful home. My family is well taken care of. I'm not having any relationships issues. What about me that I struggle so hard to? Sometimes you just don't want to deal with life, and it's normal. It's
Mental
very normal.
health does not discriminate.
Yes. And I also want to put the fact out there that it's not just, there's many forms of suicide. You can suffocate yourself, you can take pills or any form of poisoning to overdose yourself. But firearms are the main cause of suicide at this point right now.
That is.
So if you have any guns in your home around children, you should really make sure that they're locked up and safe.
And the ammunition is in a separate place?
Yeah,
mean,
definitely.
Wow. I'm not surprised by that number. I
was looking at the numbers.
It's it's an astronomical huge number, but I'm not surprised because gun violence is a leading cause of death for youth right now. And so that's part of it.
Yeah.
That's so sad. So if you have any issues, isn't there a number you can call, like 211 or 311 or something?
I learned something new today. I'm learning even within this interview, and I learned that there's a quicker number to call.
Really? What's that?
988.
Okay. That's good. Thank you. 988.
It's good. Yes. And the symbol for suicide also is a semicolon. I didn't know that either.
Oh, the semicolon, a period and a comma together.
Yes.
Wow.
And the colors are teal and purple. If you didn't know, the colors are teal and purple. But yeah, I
Wow.
think that is very important. I want to say, especially for men, I think we tend to put a gender on things,
Yeah.
but men fight that as well as
More
us
so than women. What's the ratio?
Yes.
Like 2-to-1 or something?
Yes.
Wow.
Men, men are higher than women actually,
I wonder
but they
if-
don't speak out.
Right.
Because they feel
hold it
like
in.
if they talk about, and it's not just suicide, it's just mental health overall. They
Right.
feel like I'm not okay, but I'll be okay, or I don't want to be prejudged based off of my emotions, So, yeah.
Yeah,
If you
we
have
to-
like a brother, a uncle, a son, any male person in your life, you should definitely check on them and make sure that their mental health is intact, because
just keep
they're just not speaking out about it as much
Yeah.
as we do.
They don't. Men, well, in my experience, and the men in my life, they're very quiet. Like they do not talk about things. Like my husband has high blood pressure, and it's because he hold things in and let things go, and it's like, oh, it'll be all right. Sometimes it's not going to be all right. Sometimes, you need to break a glass or something, or yell it out, or talk to somebody about it. And some people just don't know how to do that. So that's why we have professionals. If you have insurance, even if you don't have insurance, you can go to a clinic, or you could dial this 988 number. You could go to, and I've used it for my family. We've gone for Asperger's syndrome. You
can go to therapy through your insurance.
Yes, and it's
That's
only,
how I did.
you don't have to pay a fortune. Most people think, okay, a psychiatrist was like, $200 an hour.
No.
It's whatever your copay is for a specialist. $35, $45, or whatever. If you go to like a dentist, you're going to pay that $45. They're a specialist. The same thing for mental health. So it's so easy. And if you don't want anybody to know what I did because of my kids, I took them out of town. We live in West Haven. I took them to Middletown. Just go out of town. Do whatever you need to do
And
to
they
get it
also
done.
have the telephone therapy
Yeah.
now, which I think is a great opportunity, which is what my son is going to use because of our schedules.
Okay.
He's going to use the telephone thing, and if he feels the need to go to a
There you go.
personal therapist. Then.
And you don't have to sit in front of somebody. That's
But
even
it's
easier.
It's just overall that a lot of people suffer in silence. Like I've had instances where I'll be in a room full of people and I'm smiling, I'm okay, and everybody's loving my vibe, but once you go home, you shut down completely. And it doesn't have to be a heartbreak, it doesn't have to be a loss. Like sometimes you just don't really know what's wrong and you can't shake that feeling.
Wow.
So,
So sometimes it's good to have pep talks with yourself.
Right.
And to look at somebody, as mean as it sounds to say, that's worse off than you, to pick yourself up and to make you feel better.
Yeah, I used to be.
There's little tricks to
I used to
get
be
there.
big on complaining, and then it took me like therapy and self-reflecting, and a lot of 2023 was my year of like, girl, get it together, because it was so much stuff I cried about, and I kneeled on God's face, and I was like, what is this feeling like, God? What are you showing me? Because it was just like so much things that was happening in my life that I didn't understand. Like even through all the good stuff of going to school and finishing therapy, I was battling like every little thing you could name, like the car, the relationship, the kids acting up in school or outside of school. Like it was just so much, like battling myself, like not wanting to get out of bed. Like a lot of people didn't know, like when I came home, we spoke about that on the last episode. When I came home, half the time I didn't want to get out of bed for like a straight good 2 years. I do it because I had to. You know what I mean?
You got to take care of your son.
But once I got my business done and my work done and the bills paid, I was in that king size bed crying my eyes out every single chance I got. Like people calling me to come outside, I'm making up excuses. It's bad. But you know what? I feel like tough. Everybody's not spiritual, but you really have to like find some type of ground in
higher
life.
Power.
I'm telling you, because I don't know. I wouldn't really be.
You can't do it alone.
I wouldn't be as sane as I am now or strong as I am now. Like I don't battle depression anymore. I don't battle suicide. I'm more in tune with myself, what I want, what I need. You know, the things I need to fix about myself. That was like the hardest thing in therapy. It's like being hard-headed, like, you know.
Getting it out, it seems to be a relief.
It has to be.
It
has to be a relief for you, or it's not done.
Because you can't just do it on your own in your room, in your bed, crying.
I
you got to get it out.
I was telling my mom the feeling I felt like when I finished therapy. I was constantly crying, but this time it wasn't sad tears. It was like, God, like I know, like even the lady that was my therapist, shout out to Miss Rosa, she told me, she said, you don't need to come back. She said, but if you want to come back, you can. Just call me up. And it was just a relief because I really felt in my heart like I did it. It was so many times where I thought like, oh, okay.
You weren't going to make it.
I'm not going to make it. Or, oh, just faking the funk. Like, I'm finished. I'm healed. I'm this. Nope. That loss, that trauma, that depression, that suicide came right back. But now I'm at a good space. I wake up and I'm just, before the devil can even get to my mind, I'm tuning on to that gospel or that podcast, that Steve Harvey, that T.D. Jakes, that Sarah Jakes. Anybody, so my mental can be focused on the positive when I wake up.
That's what I was going to say.
And I tell my kids every day, listen, I'm not going to force church on you. I'm not going to force God on you, but just know the higher power is the best way to go. And don't leave my house without praying.
And have a great attitude.
Because sometimes it sets the tone for when you step out the house. So I tell them every day, whether you want to come to church with me every Sunday or when I do go, or you want to, tune into the Bible study or the Christian podcast, I'm not going to force that on you. I want you to have your own relationship with God, but I would like for you to know what it feels like to pray and have a belief in something greater than yourself, because there's a lot of things that's going to come to still kill and destroy your happiness and make you feel like you're not loved or make you feel like you're not accepted, or you go through hard times sometimes where maybe you can't pay a bill, or maybe, the car is acting up, the kids are acting up, the spouse is acting up, and it's frustrating, it's exhausting.
And it all hits you at one time,
but
of course.
But you just gotta really remember that nothing's perfect in life, and if I look back on all the things I went through in life, and they don't even half the things don't even faze me no more.
Exactly.
So you gotta know that what you're going through, that too shall pass. And you're gonna make it out of whatever storm comes your way. But you really gotta push through.
You do. You gotta put some effort toward it.
It's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be easy at all. I've had people come to me, because I have a Facebook and I'm very active on there. So I get a lot of inboxes like, wow, I say sometimes I talk too much, but then I'm just like, I got people in my inbox like, you really helping me go through this breakup, or know my worth, or, turn to God, or fight that suicidal thought. I had people, some woman wrote me a poem 2 years ago, all because she wanted to kill herself. And at the time when I was going through my loss with my partner and the baby, everything I was saying on Facebook, she could relate to.
See that?
So, you have people that'll shut you out for how you feel and the way you feel and the way you broadcast your lifestyle or, the things that you feel you want to be open about. But then you have others that you help. So you have to think about the people that you're helping and not so much the people that want to silence you. Because being silenced is the reason why a lot of people do, like, turn to drugs and turn to suicide, And, I just can relate on every aspect. I done drunk until I didn't want to feel it no more, and then wake up the next day with the hangover and all those feelings are coming back. I've done it all. So it's like, there's nothing I haven't been through that I haven't overcome. And by the grace of God, I'm just thankful to be here. I've never made a plan to kill myself, but I've had suicidal thoughts. A few times in my life.
Wow.
But you have to just really
you got to push through.
You got to push through, and you got to be stronger than, what your mind allows.
And you got to know that you're not the only one that's going through that. Like your story that helped this woman that was going through the same thing. You're not alone. And that's the important thing. You have to know that you're not alone. And, suicide, there is no coming back from that. There is a solution to every single problem. Whether you see it or not, suicide, there is no coming back from that.
There isn't.
There just isn't. And you have to sometimes think outside the box, think outside yourself. You have a parent, you have a sister, somebody that loves you, and they will suffer for years and years because they don't have you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's very true. That's one thing I was going to touch on is that also, they say, like, I seen something on Facebook. There was a young gentleman that's very familiar in Bridgeport that just lost his life to suicide. I want to say RIP to Keno. I seen something on Facebook where people were saying some things like, how could you do that? How could you be selfish? And my opinion on that is when you're not right in the right state of mind, sometimes you're not thinking about all of that.
Exactly.
So you have to be careful when you
judge people.
Because you don't know what that person was going through. Like I said, I have a huge village of supporters. I've always have, and yet I've still fought with suicide at times. So you can't say that people wasn't there for that person or, you guys need to check on such and such, because you really don't know what his story was. You know what I mean? You don't know what any of their story was.
That's right.
So it's just sometimes silence is better than using your words unwisely.
Well, yeah, there's no sense speculating if you don't know the story.
You don't know.
And that's pretty much the bottom line. But what you can do now is just let everybody know to think about other people and not themselves.
You can't be selfish.
All we can try to do is try to save the people that are left. The ones that are gone, unfortunately, they didn't get the information or they just couldn't be helped. By the grace of God, hopefully they'll rest in peace. But if you listening to the sound of our voice and you're watching this on YouTube, just share, and tune into Dominique Turner's Facebook.
I have a poem.
I am.
I have a poem entitled.
Okay, so we have about 4 minutes left. You want to do your poem?
Yes, I wrote a poem this morning. I'm a little nervous, but I'm still gonna go.
Don't be. This
I'm
is
gonna go
great
off
information.
My head.
We appreciate you. Just
the poem is untitled, but the meaning behind it is suicide, and I definitely want to give my prayers out to everybody in the world, but especially out to my city in Bridgeport, who has lost people to suicide. And I just want to tell them to keep their head up and be kind to everybody, because you don't know what battle that they face in life. My poem, like I said, is untitled, but it has everything to do with my fight with suicide in the past. I'm blessed to say that I'm okay now. I've been here before, The many opportunities, yet still I close the doors. I'm blinded by the past, still I crave so much more. My reality is a constant fear up in the mirror of the many scars that left me sore. You ever been in a room full of people with a fake smile, all while you go home at night and cry like a child? Dom, you're losing yourself again. The future, the love, the chasing in. It's hard to pretend when fear of failure has crept in. I gotta remain strong for these kids I'm raising, 'cause daddy ain't around, so I'm stuck within sin. Everyone pretends to love me when really it's lust. How can I trust? I wanna be more than pretty and thick. They call me by size, I really hate it. Am I more or less, bummy or dressed, failure or success? I crave less stress, life's all a mess. The highs, the lows, I wanted a way out. I'm lost on love, I lost my child. No pills, no plan, just want it to end. Suicide, I'm so locked in. I've cried for 3 years behind closed doors. I settle for less when really I'm so much more. The nightmares, the memory loss. I settled for a worker when really I'm a boss. Living to die when I want to live. Covering up tears around my kids. In all honesty, I'm in my own damn way. 'Cause really I'm struggling with faith. Yeah, I be in my own head sometimes instead of my grind. Never judge a book by its cover. I'm just a struggling mother trying to provide and live in peace. I swallow my pride and cope with grief, 'cause it could have easily been me. I know this battle was tough to overcome. Just remember, I speak for everyone, not just me, because now I'm free. I pray for everyone fighting, the families. Suicide is a big deal. Check on your strong friends. Let's stop this kill. Let this disease end.
Please, that was a very good message. And you should find a title to it. So we're all done. I want to thank you so much for the poem. Thank you for coming in, and we're out of time, but come back again. This is the David Goodman Reality and Truth Show, and we're on your side.